Okay, guys. So yesterday we started the understanding this issue of seder of akdume, and we saw. Right, so again, just to orient ourselves, the Gemara was trying to understand the Mishnah. The Mishnah had presented the position that Techelet ena ma'akev et Lavan, and Rebbe says that Techelet ma'akev et Lavan. So the Gemara said, how could that be? Why would Rebbe go against the Mishnah? So the Gemara says maybe he understood the Mishnah differently. Namely, he understood the Mishnah as being about something else, that if you don't have Techelet or Lavan at all, then you do not fulfill. They are Ma'akev, that's his position. But when the Mishnah says Ein Ma'akev, it means if you put them in the wrong order, Kesidron. Then it is, sure, Kesidron, or Lakdume is called here, but essentially Kesidron, when you put it in order, then it is, that's not Ma'akev. And there was a machlok at Rashi and Shita Mekubetzet. What are they talking about? Rashi said that the issue is putting in the tzitzit. If you put them in, you're supposed to put white then blue. If you put blue then white, you are still Yotze. The Shita Mekubetzet says, I don't understand. Why is it even a relevant factor? It's not noticeable. So we said, well, what is their logic? Because clearly, the first level, Rashi thinks that process matters, and Shita Mekubetzet thinks the result matters. But we said, why is that true? The result, right? So, right. So we have many things where process matters. We said one possibility is that the pasuk here says make it, which means that making it is part of the process. And therefore that's what Rashi is convinced of, and Shita Mekubetzet said no, it doesn't matter. Now, why might he be so convinced that it doesn't matter? So another possibility from Leibowitz was maybe it's a difference between Tashmishe Kedusha and Tashmishe Mitzvah. And we'll see that in our next again, Gardumen, where the Gemara actually says this by Gardumen, that that's the difference. So we'll see that. Gardumen is where some of it rips. So the Gemara is going to say that by tzitzit, Gardumen is kosher under certain circumstances. By tefillin, it's not. And the Gemara suggests in Lamed Hey that the difference is Tashmishe Mitzvah versus Tashmishe Kedusha. So that's our next sugya, is Gardumen. Is a very, very complicated sugya. I find it to be impossible. I'm not wrapping my head around it. I'm working on it.
Isn't that what you said about Techelet?
No. This is really hard. Gardumen, I'm really having a hard time understanding the sugya. I'm really, really struggling getting through it. Different aspects of it. But the Gemara.
And then you're giving it a
Yes. We'll see how much we get through it.
Start them off young.
Yeah, exactly. The question is really, do I do Gardumen first or do I do Min Kanaf first? Min Kanaf I find much less confusing. Min Kanaf, which is really the next sugya. The Gardumen.
That was interesting when it came up in the Rambam.
So I don't know what we're going to do first. Maybe Min Kanaf and then Gardumen. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Technically, in the order of the Gemara, the next thing is Min Kanaf. So, anyways, but we'll see it in the sugya of Gardumen. So, Rabbi Leibowitz suggests maybe that's the difference here as well. That the argument of Rashi is that process matters, and the reason the Shita Mekubetzet doesn't want process to matter is because this is Tashmishe Mitzvah, not Tashmishe Kedusha, and only when you're creating Kedusha does process matter, and not when you're just creating things that are important insofar as they are currently being used for a mitzvah. I suggested that maybe what's going on is that the Shita Mekubetzet thinks that because the pasuk describes the point of the mitzvah as ritem, it's clear that the nature of the mitzvah is result-oriented, and maybe that's why he's so convinced the process can't matter here, because it doesn't change uri temoto. Those were different models that we suggested.
Is on the bracha. Meaning it's not the mitzvah itself, like or yisem, like it's not that you have to see it the whole day. It's that when you're making the bracha,
it's the purpose of it. We'll see that there are shitot that think that seeing the tzitzit is a separate mitzvah. We'll see that that's actually shita and rishonim, and we'll come back to exactly this, the value of uritem. But that's what we saw yesterday. The last thing we saw yesterday was the question of what was the hava amina, what would have been ma'akev. So Rashi says the lavan, the logic being that, which is the simplest understanding of Gemara. The reason is because it's only the lavan. Why? Because if you hold that Techelet ma'akev et lavan, and the lavan had to be put in order, so if the lavan were ma'akev and the Techelet memela, you wouldn't be yoseh because there's no lavan. That's how the Gemara seems to read. That's how Rashi understands it. Tosfot is bothered, and he says, why isn't it in both directions? That it's ma'akev the Techelet and the lavan and the Techelet. And what does he say? Presumably because
the Techelet is ma'akev.
Well, presumably the Techelet isn't ma'akev, because the point is that, right, it's the real.
The Tosfot was saying that it's a separate It's a separate problem.
Right, meaning he said that Techelet should have also been in the wrong order. So he said, we said, well, that's what it's medaying. Maybe conceptually you would say that, but maybe it's only a din in Lavan. Really, that only Lavan has to be in order. And we said, why would that be true? But he doesn't like it, right? He suggests that maybe it's about the Techelet also, because maybe, and we said maybe the reason is because if Lavan is the Ikar and Techelet is, right? So then it's always going to be fundamentally a problem in the Lavan. Okay. That's what we were up to yesterday. So let's quickly look at the Psak question, and then let's understand the Rambam. Okay. So look at the next Tosfos. So Tosfos says in the Tosfos Rebbe Okuvi Ma'akev, Perish bekontris ukidi Rebbe be'inan leukma. V'tema demashal arbana nicha v'imken l'maskan l'zerach l'teres of Yehuda v'lo mistaber hachi mir l'maskan and ami atzin l'memer debai l'ukmei masisa kirebi. So he says, right, he goes through a little bit Rashi, and he says, it sounds like according to Rashi that the only problem here is that this whole discussion is only according to Rebbe. Why? Because it's only entertained as a possibility within Rebbe, meaning we introduce this so that to explain why according to Rebbe the Mishnah might not tell you that Techelet might not contradict his position that Techelet ma'akev et Lavan and Lavan ma'akev et Techelet, because maybe it's just about order. And he says it's a bit problematic because, right, again, I won't get it. Basically, the flow of the Gemara doesn't require it from anybody according to Rebbe, but we go back and forth of what Rebbe's position is. So the first possibility is to say yes, that this entire thing is only according to Rebbe. And why? Because why would that make sense? Why would it make sense that Rebbe is the only person who can entertain this? Right? Why would you think that? Again, according to at this stage in the Gemara is saying that according to Rebbe, Techelet is mamish ma'akev et Lavan. Pshuto k'mashmao. That without Lavan, you're not Yotzei Techelet, without Techelet, you're not Yotzei Lavan. So why then would the Gemara say that, and only for Rebbe does he care about order, but the Chachamim don't care at all? Right, what would the logic be to say, I get the textual reason to say this, right, which is that we only had to introduce the problem of Seder to explain Rebbe. But why conceptually would you say that maybe only Rebbe is bothered by Techelet Ma'akev and Lavan, why would only he care about order?
Because maybe if Techelet and Lavan are Ma'akev to begin with at all, then Kal V'chomer, the order would have been.
Correct, right? So the logic might be that, look, if you think that Techelet and Ma'akev need each other, so if they're not there, then you're not Yotzei. But once you say that they need each other, so then maybe misvara, you could say. One second, let's just spell it out. Then you would say, I think Daniel's right. But that might be the Havamina, which is what Gavi is saying, what Rashi thinks. Not the Havamina, what Rashi thinks, right? Which is that only Rebbe who thinks that Techelet and Lavan can affect each other will think that the order matters. Okay? Daniel, give me the opposite, because Daniel doesn't like this. Why? And he's right. I think he's right.
It's just like, even though they're ma'akev of each other, the point is that it's the end result is that you have both. So who cares which one you put in first, as long as you have both at the end of the day.
So maybe, but I think Tosfot's point is actually very strong. Because what we've just said is, well, maybe only Rebbe who thinks that Techelet Ma'akev affect each other.
You can say order matters when
that's what Tosfos says. And Tosfos says, he says, look, inami yishlamar the kol sheken l'Rabbanan kasher tvei amay chiser mitzvah lo ma'akvei ahadadei. Right? He says, right, according to the Rabbanan, right, it would be really hard to say that order mattered. Why?
Because the strings themselves don't matter.
Right, the strings themselves don't matter. Right, it doesn't matter if it's there. So how can you say order matters? Right, that's really the argument to say that it doesn't matter. Right, which is right. Only according to Rebbe is this going to matter at all.
Right.
You can. I think the only way you can say order matters is if one of them is ma'akev, but not both, because then the one that is ma'akev, then that one should be the one that's first, because that's the main one. So in that case, order would matter. But like when they're both equal, either they're not ma'akev or they're both ma'akev, it doesn't make a difference.
Right. So the other possibility is to say that. Right. Is to say that maybe you could have said that no, even according to the Rabbanan, there's a lechatchila of putting it in order, and how would you justify that? By saying, look, I understand you don't need it, but once you say you don't need it, what are you saying?
It doesn't matter.
Well, what are you saying? That they're both essential. Not essential, that they're both equivalent.
Equal.
I mean, they can't prevent each other from being ma'akev because they're both part of the mitzvah. So once they're both part of the mitzvah, maybe it does matter which one goes in first. Meaning,
No, but by saying one of them needs to go in first, then you're saying they're not equal to each other. You're saying one of them is more important than the other.
well, maybe or maybe not, right? Or they're saying they're both. Right? I mean, when you say maybe again, you could have said maybe they're not makevs, but I think Tosar, right? Tosar really follows what Gavi said, which is no. This only makes sense. Right? It really only makes sense according to Rebbe. To say that it matters according to Rabbanan is really hard. Right? It's really hard to say it matters according to Rabbanan. Because if you don't need it at all, so then you don't need the order. You could have said no. You don't. They don't aren't makev each other because each of them have some sort of level of right independence, and that's why order does matter. Right? You could have fudged it. Okay. So let us. Oh, we also saw. I'm sorry. We also saw the Itzer yesterday. Right, we also saw the Itzer yesterday that claims that this is not just halacha by tzitzis, this is really a halacha in general, and we said maybe you could distinguish between tzitzis and the arba minim, because by tzitzis you have a pasuk of and you shall make them, you don't by the arba minim, and therefore maybe that would be different. Okay, so there's two things left to do. Three things left to do, actually. Okay. One is to understand the Rambam. Two is to see how the lumdas here might affect other areas of halacha. And the third is a very, very quick issue, which I didn't want you to do at all in Seder, and I'll just explain to you, which is a din in drashot, which is how would we derive whether there's ma'akev or not? What would it mean if it's going to be halacha-theory but not ma'akev? What would that mean? How do we get there? Fine. Which you want to do first? What? Okay, the Rambam. So let's do the Rambam. What does the Rambam hold?
The Rambam seems that.
So read the Rambam to me. I'll just sign.
Okay. I should read it?
Yeah.
Alright. Just take one string from the white. And you should kind of like fold it, like put it through and fold it over the corner of the beged. And let it rest. And you should take one from the techelet. The korach steak and you should fold it over twice. So it's like one string, but you're making kind of like four strings out of it.
Good. Okay. So according to the Rambam, yeah.
Considering
Does it?
According to this, he says white.
Okay, good. So we have two possibilities. There's two basic possibilities in the Rambam. Does the Rambam ever say you have to put the tzitzit in first, the white for the blue? No, he never says it.
But he mentions.
He never says it. So I think there's two main possibilities of understanding the Rambam. No, he never says it. He never says it. No, he never says it. He never says it. What does he say?
He says you tie the white.
Yeah, which is what? How the shemoneh-esrei understood. Lahaktim. So there's two possibilities in the Rambam. One is to say, if he understood lakdume like Rashi, then does he paskin like this halacha? No, not at all. Right? Or you say he understood like shemoneh-esrei and he paskins. And now according to that, now if you hold possibility 2, then is this only a din for Rebbe? No, clearly he must pass like the Chachamim.
Right.
Yes. And he must think that the Chachamim would agree that even though Techelet are not Makev and Lavan, then there's still a matter of order. Right? So I think those are the basic two. Correct?
What?
Meaning, Rambam never says you have to put the white before the blue. He does say that you tie white, blue, white, blue, white, blue, white, blue.
But
white. Right? So you have two possibilities. So either, one second. So either he holds like Rashi in what the words lahaktim mean, and therefore just says lahaktim means to put the white strings in before the blue. We don't paskin that way.
Okay.
And this halacha that the order is white, blue, white, blue, white, blue is a different halacha, right? Okay. Or he says that that's what lahaktim means. But then, if you think that's what lahaktim means, like the shemoneh-esrei, then the fact that he paskins it means he thinks that this halacha is even according to the chachamim. Is that descriptively? Is that if
he holds like shemoneh-esrei that
and he paskins that you have to tie white, blue, white, blue, white, blue, white?
Why can't he paskin like Rebbe? Why can't he?
Because he paskins that Techelet ain't a makev and a lavan.
Oh, I see.
Right? Meaning he paskin like the chachamim.
Yeah, but then why does he mention?
Is what I just said clear?
Yes.
But why does he mention about folding the blue?
No. Okay, one more time.
Could be because I wasn't here yesterday.
Okay, one more time.
Separate point.
Rashi holds lahaktim means you have to put the white strings in before the blue. That halacha that Rambam never quotes.
Okay.
Shemoneh-esrei thinks it means that when you tie the tzitzit, you have to do white, blue, white, blue, white, blue, white.
Okay.
The Rambam does rule like that halacha.
Right.
Now, he could rule like that halacha for an independent reason.
Or
he can think that that's what lahaktim means. But if he thinks that's what lahaktim means, then he thinks that we paskin like it even though we paskin like that chachamim against Rebbe. Now, we just said that Tosfot thinks that what? And Rashi thinks that the only person who really should care about ma'akev is Rebbe. Because if Rebbe thinks that Techelet and Lavan are ma'akev each other, so it makes sense to talk about order. But if you think that they aren't ma'akev each other at all, then how could order matter? The problem is that the Rambam paskins like the Chachamim, that Techelet is not ma'akev Lavan, Lavan not ma'akev Techelet.
You also have to tie.
But he thinks you have to tie it white, blue, white, blue, white, which according to the Shidduch Umetzet is what lahaktim means.
Right.
Good.
Okay.
So, how would you then defend it? How could it be that the Chachamim care? And the answer
if
is...
it's a different...
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the simple answer is, what's the big deal? Meaning, once you think it's about tying, right, why shouldn't the Chachamim care? Right? Meaning, the only problem really arises if you paskin like Rashi.
But
right? I mean, if you understand it like Rashi, that's why you wouldn't want to talk about it. But if you say the lahaktim means it matters how you tie it, so then...
But effectively...
Everyone can care how you tie it.
But effectively, tying and putting it through the hole, those are both part of the process. So
no, it's about the result. The way you tie it is about the result.
After you tie it is the result already what it looks like. So you tie all of them, and then once it's done,
no, he means the knots.
It counts.
No, he means the knots.
I understand he means the knots, but until you tie all of them, that it's not tzitzis yet.
No, but you can. That's not true. It's tzitzis after you tie the first knot. Kesher Elyon Daraisa. We're going to get to that sugya. Only one knot is Daraisa, which according to some Rishonim is the first knot, according to Rashi is the last knot, but according to many Rishonim is the first knot. Kesher Elyon. You are right. According to Rashi, that's the last knot. But we'll come back to that.
So tying is not part of the process.
Well, that's what we're going to see. I mean, it's clearly part of the process of making.
Right. But then so is putting it through the hole.
No. Because what the Shemoneh-esrei said is that no, the only thing that matters is things that are evident by the end. But I think the simple answer is if Rambam thinks that it's about the way it's tied by the end, that svara already makes sense even according to the Chachamim. Right? Meaning it may not be textually necessary in the Gemara, but misvara, it's not crazy that Chachamim care how the tzitzis look at the end.
Right.
It may not be ma'akev, but it makes sense that they care, right? That it's meaningful. Okay. So let's see how they understood the Rambam. Okay, let's look at the Kesef Mishnah first. Look at the Karen Orah first. Number 2. Harif zal hishmit lahaydina the mitzvah lahakdim lavan l'tchelet. The Rif left this halacha out that you have to put the white before the blue. Well, Rif zal yishlom mishamachi lo katva dein lanu tchelet b'zman hazeh. The Rif, I understand why he left it out, because the Rif only writes practical halacha, and the Rif's time was there tchelet. No. But the Rambam also doesn't quote this halacha. Is that a problem? Yes, because the Rambam writes all halacha whether it was relevant in his time or not. Right, that's the way the Rambam is written. So how does the Karen Orah solve the problem? That what?
You don't need to put it through.
No, that
it's only necessary for Rebbe.
It's only Rebbe, right? Maybe he does. Right? The Techelet Lavan makiv zeh zeh v'kamashbol v'matzvah l'aktim gamken or rabban lo makiv zeh zeh mitzvah kedim gamken litlu. Right? He says the first possibility is just you're right. Why does the Rambam not paskin like it?
Because he has to paskin like Rebbe.
He doesn't paskin like Rebbe. Avalo came before me to say to Michal the Tani Adam Techelet ein makiv Lavan ma'achar Tani mitzvah l'aktim Lavan Techelet. But he says, I don't think it's true, because he said in the Tosefta indicates that these two positions, the position of the Chachamim and the position of Lahakdim, can coexist. In the Tosefta it rules like both. And therefore his Havamina is that the Rambam doesn't paskin Lahakdim at all, because he thinks that it's only Rebbe's position, and since we don't paskin like Rebbe, we eliminate it. But then at the end he's left in a question, he left in a quandary, because In the Tosefta, they both can coexist. Okay, look at the Kesef Mishnah. Look at number 1. Kesef Mishnah quotes the following tshuva. So the Rambam often wrote letters to the Chachmei Lunel. Who are the Chachmei Lunel?
The light.
Province.
The Provençals. Thank you. Very good. See, you guys do listen. The people from the light places. Yes, Chachmei Lunel. Sha'alu me'Rabbeinu she'ela. They asked him, "Zo ve'hishiv lahem. Is it vod chut echad miktatot Techelet and miktatot Lavan? V'yish lachnas kol chut v'chut b'fnei atzmo v'koflo v'shozro ad sheyesh shiva chutin Lavan ve'echad Techelet." Right? He explained that the way you make tzitzit, you have 8 strings. One of them is half white and half blue, and you weave them until you get to 7 and 1. Shnamar p'til Techelet p'til echad v'lo shnayim l'fisha mitzvah shel Techelet sheyah p'til kulo Techelet. Lo naseh melavan el kricha achad belvad smucha leknaf ushar chulya mechuyot kulan betchelet chutz mikricha achrona shi belavan. And then what do you do? The first tie is white, and after that it's only blue ties, except for the last one, which is white. Oh, v'chilbo v'chein katav hagaon Rabbi Shimon ben Chafni b'sefer shechiber b'tzitzit b'lashon arav yad kan lashona. This is how the Rambam describes it. Now, does the Rambam weigh in on whether this is Kesidron here? No, he just says it's the halacha. So now look at the Grizz. Look at the Grizz in number 3, the Brisker Rav. He says, "Hadinu da'kodem nifsal shaso shelo kedin." In general, the halacha is if you put something in first, out of order, the first one is out of order, it's possible. V'nireh. The kol kushi rak the shita tos for the Rashi the din laktem who din beseder asiyale the boy lechabran beveged alavan kodem atchelet vim shina aseder ave pasul basiyat tzitzit are asiyat dinahu the pasul tasev elomen asui. The problem is, according to Rashi, that the mitzvah of lahaktim is to do it in the right order. And he says, you know why Rashi thought that the order mattered? Because there are other indications that the process matters, like tasev elomen asui. It's not true that only the result matters by tzitzit, because you have to make tzitzit. It can't be tasev elomen asui. What's tasev elomen asui?
Can't be already made.
So how would you do that by
tzitzit? You have to take an active action.
Untie.
So the way tasev elomen asui would mean that you would, let's say, cut off the corner of your tzitzit, and then with the beged attached, and then right? I mean, basically, take this, right, this square over here,
undo it,
and just cut it off, and then sew the whole thing onto another beged. That would be tasev elomen asui. Right? You can't do that because the string is made totally tied, and then but that you can't do.
What's the reason for the double fabric on the corners? I know it's a halacha, but
we'll get to it. All these issues of knaf and stuff like that. So he said that's Rashi. V'imken gam kein din seder b'masas yad tzitzit. V'olchein ekshur the reshinuya betchelet dima lelavan. And that's why he had a kasha. Wait, isn't the problem also on the Techelet because the white came first? Achen harambam melchot tzitzit mevuar debar lahaktim lavan leTchelet mishum decheva kanaf min kanaf etzarach lasot min kanaf tenu lavan samuch lebeged. The Rambam, like the Karen Orah, right? The Grizz understands the Rambam is paskening lahaktim. It's just he thinks lahaktim means what? The tying with the shidduch govetzet things. V'zeh l'shano sham. Kidei sheyesamuch leknaf mina. V'zeh udin ba'kricha. V'tzarich lekroch tchila chut shel lavan. Mishum demidin kanaf. Tzarich sheyesamuch leveged. Sorry, not like the Karen Orah. Against the Karen Orah. The Karen Orah understood lahaktim like Rashi, and therefore thought the Rambam thought that it was inconsistent once you pass like the Chachamim. The Karen Orah was left with the kasha, which is, but doesn't the Tosefta think that you can paskin like the Chachamim and paskin lahaktim? What's the solution of the Grizz? That the Rambam understood lahaktim, essentially that it's about the order of the tying, not the order of putting in the strings, in which case it is possible to hold both like the Chachamim and like the and lahaktim, right? The way the shemoneh esrei does. V'zeu b'din ba'kricha derech lichot tchila chut shel lavan mishum demidin knaf tzarech sheyesamuch leveged min knaf ve'ein zeh miklal din seder asiyah. It's not a din in how you make it. In the order of making it. Tchila lega din lega klal din b'kricha echan shetiyah mishum achi shah b'kam v'dekayim mitzvah tchelet v'chisar mitzvah lavan mishum delavi samuch leknaf. And he says, and now let me explain to you. Remember we said, which mitzvah is lacking, the white or the blue? He says, let me explain to you why it's the white. Why is it the white and not the blue? Because how does the Rambam understand it? Right? Now he's going back. That the din of lahaktim means that the white should ideally be
First.
samuch lebeged. Right? Should be the one closest to the clothing. Which means that it's not a din. He said, why is it that the Gemara doesn't say that what's lacking is the Techelet? Shouldn't it both be lacking? Right, like Tosfot? And what is the Rambam's, and what is the Griz's answer? No, because once you understand the relationship with Betzet, it's not that there's a mitzvah to put white and then blue and then white and then blue. What's the mitzvah? What does lahaktim mean?
To put white first and then the rest.
The real mitzvah is to put white next to the beged. It's not a din that white blue. It's not that the order matters from beginning to end. What does the word lahaktim mean? Not that there is an order, that the white should be the one that starts and closes the beged. And if you don't do that, are you lacking in the blue?
No.
No, right? Tosa thinks you're lacking in both. The Rambam, right? You might be lacking in both. The Griz says no. What you learn from the Rambam, based on the Shita Bet said, is that the halach of lahaktim isn't have an order of tying. It's make sure the white is the one that is closest to the beged. Therefore, obviously, you don't lack anything in the Techelet because it's not a din white-blue. It's a din white. It's a din that the white has to be first, and you're just lacking that mitzvah. The blue, we just don't care. This is not. If you thought that and here's what the Grizz is getting at, that even according to the Shidim Gubetza, there's two ways of understanding this halacha. One is that there's an order. If there's an order, what's lacking? The white and the blue. But why does the Gemara imply that the only thing that would be lacking is the white? So what does the Grizz say? No, the haktim doesn't mean that it has to be that there's an order of the white and blue. It means there's a halacha that the white has to be the first one. And once you say the only halacha is the white has to be samach lebeged, there's no chitzar in the Techelet. The Techelet doesn't matter. Right? Either you did the white the right way, you didn't do the right way. That's all the problem is. Zeu.
But that's not what the Rambam says. The Rambam says there that you also have to end with the white.
And end with white. He said, "V'gam b'samach lebeged kasher." V'nei b'gemara kamer l'nzachal l'talit shekul tchelet avim kanaf shemiu umak shekmar midi tzivah kagarim v'nei b'shlama l'shizar Rambam debayish samach lebeged v'mina savra gemara debeged tchelet chashav mina v'tzarach l'samach lebeged. And he says, according to the Rambam, where does he get this from? Because the Gemara afterwards starts asking all these questions of min kanaf, and what about min kanaf on a totally tchelet beged? And he said the Gemara's havamina was that the reason you have to put the lavan next to the beged is because you want it to be min kanaf, meaning that you want at the corner the string to be the same color as the beged. And that's why the Gemara starts asking, well, what if you have a fully tchelet beged? Because the reason lavan has to be samach to the beged is min kanaf, and that's why the Gemara said, well, what would happen if you had a beged shetula tchelet? Would you put tchelet first? Right? But that whole discussion...
if you have a beged that's cool tchelet, wouldn't you only do tchelet then?
We're going to get to that. This is later in the Gemara. But he said the reason the Gemara starts asking these questions is because if you understand like the Rambam, it makes sense that the din is about tying, and the real halacha is that the string closest to the beged should be the color of the beged, and that's why the Gemara said, oh, well, what about a beged shekulat chelet? But aval Rashi, the zeu din seder u'maisa siyera achitzit b'kanaf by lasot the kodem chelet zeu beir akra the kanaf. But according to Rashi, that about order, the rest of the Gemara becomes very difficult to understand because imkein my nafkamin is a sevet savuot hatalet. Or mikom magom beir akra da kanaf koyal lavan. Right? He said it doesn't make any sense. And therefore he leaves it as a kasha. Right? But, so what's the Griz's fundamental argument? The Karen Ora thinks that does the Rambam Paskin Lahaktim? No, because he thinks it depends on Rebbe, because he understands Lahaktim like Rashi. But he notes that in the Tosefta, Lahaktim is like true according to Chachamim. The Griz says, I have a solution for you. What does the Rambam think Lahaktim means?
The order of the tying.
The order of the tying, like the Shimon Kubet said. And then, I hear you heard Eliak's name and you got up to... No, you got me.
Yeah, he was explaining it.
Yes. Nothing. Rambam joke. But the Grizz says, no, once you paskin shemoneh-esrei, the Rambam can argue that it's true. And he says, now, why does the Rambam think, or why does the Gemara think that the chisaron is only in Lavan? She said, according to Rashi, it makes no sense. Right? If it's about the order, they should both be lacking. But if it's about the order of the tying, the real halacha is not that it's white and blue, but the real halacha is start with the white. And that's why the Gemara's Havamina was that only the white is lacking, because either there's white closest to the beged or not. And he said, once you understand that that's the issue, you understand why the Gemara gets so worked up about a beged should kula techelet, because maybe the reason that you have to put white next to the beged is midin min kanaf, and therefore when it's kula techelet, the min kanaf should be techelet, and that's what leads to the whole confusion in the Gemara, which we'll see. But that's the Grizz's contention, is that the Rambam really follows shemoneh-esrei, and that's why it is reconcilable that you can paskin like this, even according to the Chachamim. Okay, two more points. What other implications might this discussion have in other areas of halacha? So, let me put it this way. What if Rashi is right? Then what does that teach us about making tzitzit?
That
the process matters.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning, besides the local
other cases,
right? Meaning, besides the local halacha, what Rashi is teaching us is that in tzitzis the process matters. Right? Including what part of the process?
The putting in the
Correct. Not just that process matters. Everyone agrees process matters. The Shema and things like that. But Rashi is machadesh that not only does process matter, but that the process starts when? When I put in the strings. Now, who doesn't agree with that? Presumably, the Rambam, the Shin said, is that even if process matters, when does it start mattering?
When you're tying.
When you're tying. So, lamai nafkamina. Give me a nafkamina that's not about lahaktim. Now that I fed it to you. Good. Is that, what about other halachot that are about process? Do they start mattering when I put the strings through the beged? Or do process halachot only start mattering? Hey, David. Hey, David. Yeah. Or do they only start mattering what? When you tie. So according to Rashi, when does Lishma, let's say, start mattering?
When you
put the strings in. According to the Shimon when will the halachot start mattering?
When you start tying.
When you tie. Good. So look at the Chazon Ish.
So when we did Lishma, there are other opinions that Lishma starts even earlier than that. When you make
correct, but that might be because the strings also have a chalos. You're right.
So, but if Lishma starts there, then it should...
Not necessarily. It could be that you need Lishma to make the strings, and you need Lishma on tying the strings, but putting them in is irrelevant. Right? Because it's not that the process starts then, is that you have to create strings, and then you have to create a beged with strings. Right? But presumably that is a nafkamina. And the Chazon Ish, I originally gave you the Ber Halacha and the Chazon Ish, but I just gave you, in the end of the day, the summary of the Chazon Ish of his machlokes of the Ber Halacha. So look at 5. Biography here. Who is the Chazon Ish? Nate's not here to give us his biography. What is the Chazon Ish? Chazon Ish, his name is... Good. The Ish stands for his name, which is Avram Yeshaya. Right? Avram Yeshaya. Right, that's the Aleph Yud Shin, his truncation of his name, Aleph Yud Shin, Avram Yeshaya. His last name is Karelitz, correct. The Chazon Ish was essentially the most important posek of the Haredi community of the 20th century in Israel. He comes from Europe, moves to Israel, moves to Bnei Brak. He is phenomenally important.
Is he also radical like them?
He is the beginning of a certain way of thinking about psak. He's not as right. He's not right the same as modern sort of politically and things like that. But he is, in terms of psak, he is still viewed as like one of the most important poskim in the community, if not the most important posek. The Chazon Ish is unique in the sense that even the Chazon Ish's book on Shulchan Aruch is not a parish on Shulchan Aruch. It's just organized into 4 halakim, but he essentially writes essays because his derech of psak is not I have to paskin like Shulchan Aruch and the Nosei Kelim. It's I paskin the way I understand the Gemara, and therefore he basically writes mini essays explaining how he paskins from the Gemara.
Like his own Rishon.
Yes, the Chazon Ish will argue in Rishon, and the Chazon Ish basically views himself in that way. He is incredible.
Is he a lot? Yeah.
What?
can he do that? Like,
Yeah, why not?
I mean,
Why not?
he's
Why can't
not
you
a-
argue on Rishon?
you can argue on it, but like,
Why can't you argue on Rishon?
Same with that,
To
the
say
Gemara
that-
can't argue on the Tanakh.
Why? When was there a stima of that with Rishonim? First of all, why can't the Mishnah argue in the Gemara? Why can't we argue in the Gemara? We can, but why not? Good question. And even if you assume we can't, which let's assume we can't, even though why that's true is not clear, but the fact that it's true is probably clear. Who says that there's anything post-Talmud that has anything of that type of power? The answer is nothing, right? Nothing. There's no particular reason to assume that we're bound to the Rishonim in that way. There just isn't. Some people will say, no, we're bound by Shulchan Aruch, but that's not the way the Chazon Ish ran his life, even if in his programmatic statements about Psak, he does sort of go in that direction. But in terms of how he actually paskins, it doesn't seem to care what anybody says. I mean, he cares what people say, but he paskins the way he sees fit. But anyways, the Chazon Ish writes as follows. He says, Mishnah Brura, in the Ber Halacha, he writes, Dim tachava tzitzit tocha beged v'lo chiven lishma af kashar lishma lo yivarech v'tzidei levarech midin ochiach sofo. Mishnah Brura says that if you put in the tzitzit with not lishma, so maybe you shouldn't make a bracha. In the end, he says maybe you make a bracha, but only because the fact that you make it in tzitzit shows that you had lishma at the beginning. But what does the Mishnah Brura therefore clearly hold?
It's important.
That it's important that you need lishma even in putting it in. The only way to be matered if you didn't have lishma is to say you had lishma even if you didn't know it. But fundamentally, does the Mishnah Berurah think you need lishma?
Yeah.
Yes, even for putting in the strings. Where does he get that from? Rashi, who thinks that part of the process is putting in the strings. V'tema. And the Chazon Ish himself argues. He says, "V'tema lishma ma'akev b'tchiva alma tchiva b'chal asiyah." Are you telling me that putting the strings in itself is part of the process of making it? Im kein dinush im tagav achach pasak rashi achuten pasol lishmuel. That should mean that if you put in the strings and then they rip, even the tips rip, it should be puzzled with Shmuel. We'll come to what that is. But filam nimtza tam the motive is a Shmuel mikamakom v'tidachein kush etc. And basically, he says that the halacha here would be that that you would say that all the process halacha would apply there. But why does he think it's not true? Because he says, look at Gamkein Damot Achutim Mechubar Mebeged Vavekshir Shel Lishma V'Kesher Elyon the Beged Vadavin Lishma L'chora Yesh Rayit Bin Tchiva Lishma Me'adam Rinan etc. Said L'chora the proof for the Mishnah Berurah is from Rashi. After the ellipse, Kshera Tchiva, Shalo Ayabeged Omed Klalitzi, Lo Chut and Klal Hashem says, Lo Shach Lako, Kan Mitzvah Laktim Lavan, Vakar Shach Lomer, the Mitzvah Techelet Binan Tchiva Lishma, the Mitzvah Akdama, Vakoz Lo Ma'akev, Velka Rav Shalo Lishma Lo Ma'akev, Kshein Lo El Lavan, Vade and Shach Tchiva Lishma. But he said, what's the problem? He said La Halacha. So I'll put it differently. He said, there are two ways you could really argue on this conclusion of Mishnah Berurah. One is to say we possibly shitting mukubetzet, which means that putting it in is not part of the process, and the other is to note that do we paskin like Rebbe? No, and once you don't paskin like Rebbe, so maybe you can argue that part of what we don't paskin like Rebbe is that once you say that it doesn't matter what order you put it in, right? That's because this isn't part of the process, right? So he notes essentially that this really comes down to the sugya. He doesn't spell it all out this way, but logically I'll say that this is really what it comes down to, is that if you say that lishma matters by putting it in, that's because you're following a Rashi-esque model. To reject it, you either follow the Shittim Betzit model, which says no, the mitzvah starts only once you start tying knots, and therefore putting it in is not b'chal mitzvah, or you say that that's only true according to Rebbe, because if you think that Techelet and Lavan, the order matters, that shows you that Tchiva matters. But once you don't paskin that way, then with it goes the contention that putting the strings in is significant, and therefore, right? So that is a question that might hang on this issue of whether you think Tchiva is part of the mitzvah. Okay, last point. Last point is the following. In general, in Kudshim, what does it
sound weird? Is this padding or the fact that I've been wearing
To get to 39.
It is weird.
To get to 39.
a face shield? I had it for the winter last year, but it came late in the order. So I gave it to the guys now to go in 39 to not please. So
Okay, wonderful.
it's a monk.
Good. It's creepy. It's creepy. I'm just saying, it's creepy. Okay. So in general, there is a rule that by Kudshim, that if the Torah says something once, it's a mitzvah. If it says it twice, it's ma'akev. But if it's not said twice, it's only a mitzvah and not ma'akev. It's what's called shina alav akasu of la'akev.
Specific to halacha?
What?
Or like in general?
Yeah, by any particular halacha, the Torah needs to say it twice for it to be ma'akev by Kudshim.
Okay.
So one of the questions that comes up here is, well,
Does it say it twice?
well, does it say it twice, and is that halacha local to Kudshim or not? Right, meaning, does that exegetical rule, that in order for something to be ma'akev, it must be said twice, is that only by Kudshim, and if it is, then how could anyone ever thought that, in our case, it's ma'akev? So, if you look at, it seems to be a stira in Tosusim. If you look at Tosus by us, I reprinted it for you here on 6. He says, Tema, Kevin Mikrahu Darshin Lavan Varesha, name of the Ma'akev, the Haloba Inan Shina Kazalakev, Ela Bakachim. Tosus says, I don't understand this halacha, because the rule is that outside of Kachim, if halacha said once is a Ma'akev, yes, it's only by Kachim you need twice, and therefore, if you think that the pasuk says it once that you have to be makdim, then should it be Ma'akev? Yes, because this is not Kachim, right? I mean, Tosos thinks that the halacha of Shina La'akev is only by Kachim. And if it's only by Kachim, then it should be enough to say it once outside of Kachim and Ma'akev, and therefore, in the context of tzitzit, which are not Kachim, should it be Ma'akev? Yes. Yes. Say there, Lavan, Yaakov, that causes Lakev, come go Chalitzik, the Merkik Chalitzik, Machaz also, Yavapi, God, the Chsev, Kacha, Ikuva, Lokai, Elachisar, and Maisa. He says, you're right, but maybe by tzitzis, for some reason, it doesn't make sense that the order should be Ma'akev. Whatever he means, it's clear that Tosfos says that, yeah, fundamentally, saying it once should have been enough, but by tzitzis, conceptually, it doesn't make sense that the order should matter, because order only matters by things where it's in action and not in terms of creation. That's really what he's saying, and for all the reasons that we've talked about. On the other hand, Tosfos in Psachim writes that the rule of Shina Lav La'akev is true outside of Kachim as well. And if you see that at the last line, he says, "V'yevet shari di'ikamili tuva debinan sheishana Kachim La'akev could go in Kachim." That you always need it as twice. Now, if you hold like that, Tosfos, then it might be that the reason it's a mitzvah, not Ma'akev, is. Right, meaning, according to the first Tosfos, you need to say that the fact that it's not Ma'akev is a local halacha and tzitzis, that maybe it just doesn't make sense for order to matter like Shita Mekubetzet. If you think, like Tosfos in Psachim, that the rule, Shina Lav La'akev, is a rule in Kol Kula, then how could it be that it's a mitzvah to put in order, but if you don't do it, it's not a big deal? What would you say? Because that's the rule in Kol Kula. If it says it once, it's a mitzvah. If it says it twice, it's Ma'akev. Right? Right, that's just a small point, right? That exegetically speaking, this sugya makes a lot of sense according to the Shita that this is actually a halacha always. That in order for things to be ma'akev, it needs to be said twice. If it says it only once, it's a mitzvah, and that would map on to the sugya that it's a mitzvah l'haktim. According to Tosfos, that it's a rule only in Kachim. That's why Tosfos has to come up with a local explanation. Says, it says it once. Isn't it ma'akev? He says no, because of local reasons. Tzitzis doesn't make sense to think that the order matters. If you look at the Chazon Ish, the Chazon Ish in general follows the position that it is a din in Kachim. That does seem to be the majority view. No, I'm sorry, other way around. So he notes this contradiction. He says, "The Chazon Ish, paskins like the second Tosfos in Psachim, that in fact this is a general rule, and if it's a general rule, so then it makes a lot of sense why tzitzis it's a mitzvah, but it's not ma'akev, because that is the general rule of drashot."
Yeah. If we follow if we follow
but the general rule is, but other achronim say no. It seems to be exeris because of kachim, because kachim are special. That seems to be the machlokes. Again, this is a bring discussion. It's discussing the Aslan Deraisa. I don't want to get bogged down to it, but I just want you to know that it existed. Okay. Good. Let's stop there. And tomorrow, do you guys want to do min kanaf first and just keep going? I'll say Gemara. You want to do gardumin? Min kanaf is much easier than gardumin, so let's do min kanaf, and it'll give me the weekend to fully process gardumin. Next week's going to be a bit interesting because we just have Ray Ginsburg is away for a few days, and we have guest speakers. Ray Broyd is giving shiur on Thursday.
Oh boy, from last
Yeah. He's visiting, so he wants to come and give a shiur. So he's going to give a shiur, and Ray Clapper is coming on Tuesday.
He's coming up.
Ray Clapper, Ray Clapper.
I don't know which university teaches.